Half an hour ago, our squad was ordered to clear out first-tier demon beasts. But who could have guessed the intel was fake? The village was actually crawling with third-tier rat demons. Our captain didn't last even 3 seconds before being torn apart. And my brothers became food for those beasts. I had no talent for martial arts. Just now I was knocked out by a rat demon's tail. I only managed to survive by masking my presence with blood and mud. Now, less than 5 meters away from me, a rat demon the size of a full-grown wolf was devouring its meal. I knew that if I kept lying there, I'd just be waiting to die. So I slowly began to grope through the muddy water. I finally grabbed hold of my battered long blade. Next, I carefully pulled my knees up, trying to retreat toward the low wall behind me. But at the moment my right foot stepped back, I snapped a dry twig. The rat demon that was eating suddenly froze in place. Its scarlet eyes locked onto me in the mud pit. The very next second, it tore through the cloud cover, baring its bloody jaws and lunged right at my face. It was too fast. I had no time to dodge. I could only grip my long blade tightly, hoping to shatter a few of its teeth before I died. But just as those foul fangs were about to crush my skull, a cold, mechanical voice exploded in the depths of my mind. Ding! Detected host is in a life or death crisis. Host meets the unique Undying Overlord body binding condition. Demon slaying system now officially activated. Trial card for demon slaying blade technique issued. Use now? Use. Before my words even finished, an unimaginable, terrifying power poured madly into my bones and muscles. Time itself seemed to slow down. That lightning-fast rat demon moved in a trajectory I could clearly see in midair. My feet stayed rooted firmly in the mud. Facing the oncoming rat demon, I drew my blade upward. A clean, no-frills, upward slash with 0 resistance. This third-tier beast that could break through shields was sliced in half effortlessly by my smooth strike. Scalding demon blood poured over me like a waterfall. The commotion instantly alerted the other beasts in the village. Dozens of savage, red eyes came surging toward me like a black tide. I flicked the blood from my blade, then glanced at the upper right corner of my vision. A blood-red countdown timer. 5 minutes. That's enough. A cruel grin formed at my lips. My legs exploded with power, smashing the ground beneath me. Like a mad asura, I charged straight into the beast horde. With the system's enhancement, every muscle in my body unleashed monstrous strength beyond its limits. With one sweep of my blade, 3 heads flew skyward. A downward chop smashed a leaping rat demon into a pile of meat. As the last rat demon tried to escape, I drove my blade through its back, pinning it down. The countdown hit 0 at that exact moment. I fell to one knee on the mountain of corpses in the ruins. Panting heavily, the system's power faded instantly. A crushing weakness flooded my body, but I survived. With a human body, I wiped out the entire third-tier beast pack. But just as I was about to relax my nerves, the earth suddenly began to shake violently without warning, less than 10 meters in front of me. The ground collapsed like a fragile eggshell. Then, a massive mutated third-tier rat demon king burst out from underground, staring at the piles of its kin's corpses. The rat demon king unleashed a deafening roar. It gave me no time to react at all. Its huge front claw sliced the air with a sinister sound, slamming down viciously. I gritted my teeth, raising my broken blade to block. But the moment they made contact, the blade shattered into pieces. A mouthful of blood burst from my lips. My whole body flew like a puppet with its strings cut. I crashed hard through half a stone wall. I collapsed in the ruins, unable to lift even a finger. All I could do was watch as the rat demon king opened, its massive jaws wide enough to swallow an entire cow, and lunged for me. Right then, countless raindrops freakishly froze in midair. Demon suppression guard. Squad leader Liu Rubbing descended, gliding on frost. A mere third-tier mutant beast dares come this close to the high walls? From above, she extended a single finger, pointing lightly at the immobilized rat demon king below.
In midair,
Tens of thousands of ice droplets instantly formed a massive icicle. It plunged from the sky. The indestructible rat demon king was pinned to the earth. Its organs were frozen solid. She gave me a cold glance, then ordered into her communicator. There's still one surviving demon guard here. Coordinates, Jafu District 37. Send a medical evac ship. The danger was over. I only felt a crushing hunger, like I'd die if I didn't eat something right away. Dragging my battered body, I crawled over to the dead rat demon king and took a huge bite of its flesh, swallowing it in chunks. Demon flesh turned into searing magma inside me. The system notified me that I was extracting the beast's core genes. I gained the Bloodthirst Fury ability. A bitter smirk spread across my lips, and I blacked out completely. A pungent smell of disinfectant filled my nose. I shot upright in bed. I was in the lower-level medical ward inside Jiang City Wall. I opened my system panel. 3,500 demon-slaying points remaining. I tossed aside the book by my bed, the military's basic cultivation manual, straight into the trash can. System. Spend all points on basic demon-slaying blade technique, deducting 3,000 points. Blade technique broke through to mastery. Just then, the iron door to the ward was kicked open. Logistics officer Wang Fatty pinched a stack of Jiang City gold notes, glanced at me mockingly. Hey, the loser ain't dead yet. Pretty tough to survive. Too bad your dead brothers weren't so lucky. All turned into beast dung. My eyes instantly grew cold, and I glared at the notes in his hand. That was my squad's death benefits. Once, anyway, but not anymore. Wang Fatty sneered, stuffing the notes into his pocket. Your squad didn't even complete a first-tier mission. Wasted the fuel for my medivac ship. So this cash counts as compensation to logistics. Besides, what would a worthless guy who can't learn even basic key techniques do with that much money? Buy yourself a coffin?
He laughed, his fat jiggling.
Then reached out to poke my bandaged chest. I slowly lifted the blanket, stepping barefoot onto the freezing cement floor. I turned sideways and drew the brand new standard long blade, hanging on the weapon rack beside the bed. A crisp, cold clang rang out. Clutching the blade, I stepped closer to him, one step at a time. Today, you're paying with your life for that money. Wang Fatty's face squeezed together in terror. Then he erupted in mad laughter. You want to kill me? With you, a loser who can't even gather a trace of inner ki. I'm a true first-tier martial artist. Before he finished speaking, he viciously kicked over the medical cart. A pale yellow aura shield burst out. He threw a fierce punch right at my face. Go die and crawl back to the ruins. Faced with this aggressive blow, my eyes didn't waver at all. At this moment, my basic blade technique has surpassed muscle memory, even faster than my brain. I didn't even activate berserk mode. Instead of backing off, I stepped forward and swung the most basic slash head-on. There was a sharp, loud crack. The aura shield he was so proud of shattered explosively like paper. This can't be. Fatty Wang's eyes nearly popped out. The arrogance on his face was instantly replaced by sheer terror. Immediately, I twisted my wrist. The heavy back of my blade smashed hard into his chest, along with a sickening sound of bone cracking. His nearly 200-pound body was sent flying backward and slammed right into the hospital room wall. He couldn't even beg for mercy anymore. With my blade in hand, I walked toward him expressionlessly, ready to end this parasite's life for good. But just then, a cold, piercing voice came from outside the ward. Stop. Liu Rubing entered with 2 fully armed team members. They walked in. At a glance, he understood what happened. He ordered his men to drag Fatty Wang, who withheld military wages, away. Finally, his gaze fell on me. In the barracks, private fights are strictly prohibited. Considering this was self-defense, I won't pursue this matter this time. Inside these walls, you need to follow the rules. Your strength is interesting, but in the face of truly high-level monsters and martial artists, without aura, you're just an ordinary mortal. He finished speaking and was about to leave. I interrupted directly. Rules are meant to protect the weak. But my captain and the others obeyed the rules and died out in the wild. Liu Rubing paused for a moment.
He didn't look back.
Then just do your best to survive. Live until the day you can set the rules. Moments later, a veteran nervously walked into the ward and put a mud-stained canvas bag at my bedside. These are items our squad left at the scene. Silently, I opened the bag and took out the captain's most treasured military canteen. But suddenly my eyes narrowed. The weight was off, so I immediately drew my blade and followed the welding seam at the bottom, carefully split it perfectly in two. A hidden compartment was revealed. Inside was a strip of cloth soaked in blood, several lines of crooked writing on it. Li Biao, Deputy Commander of City Defense. Smuggling forbidden goods. Monster beasts infiltrating the city. Intel was wrong. It's a trap. He's trying to silence us. Linzu, don't go back to Jiangcheng. The truth was out. There was never any cleanup mission. It was a cold-blooded murder all along, since they wanted to wipe out witnesses. If Li Biao finds out I'm still alive, he absolutely won't rest tonight. Sure enough, at midnight, the lock on the door sounded with a barely audible scrape. 3 figures in black raincoats slipped into the ward. Simultaneously, 3 poisoned daggers stabbed fiercely into my blanket. But there was no one in the bed. Damn. It's a trap. The leader tried to back away. I dropped down from above like a night owl. It's too late for them to react now. The blade flashed in the darkness. 2 heads instantly flew up into the air. I shattered the last leader's kneecap with a kick, pinning him to the ground. A cold blade had already cut open the arteries in his neck. Where is Li Biao? Why you dare kill the city guards? Commander Li will never let you go. I cut off one of his fingers without hesitation. My patience is limited. Where is Li Biao? The intense pain finally broke him. He screamed in terror. Outside the city! Outside the city! In the underground black market of an abandoned factory, a batch of premium monster beasts will be put in storage tonight. He went to keep an eye on things himself. Please let me go. Crack. I stomped hard and crushed his throat. I ripped off a black raincoat and threw it on, climbed out of the window, blade in hand, and disappeared into the pouring rain. In an abandoned machinery plant 30 kilometers outside the city, a dozen black market thugs were laughing wildly, throwing some vagrants into a deep pit. At the bottom was a Tier 3 ironhide boar demon beast. It instantly tore people to shreds. This creature sure has an appetite. Throw in a couple more. The killers were still partying. And right then, the ventilation duct was ripped apart by brute force. I dropped straight down from over 10 meters high, landing heavily at the edge of the pit. The whole ground flatlined in an instant. Since you love watching the feeding, tonight you'll be fed to it yourselves. The leader of the thugs roared. Damn it, where'd this stray mutt come from, poking his nose in black market business? Kill him. Faced with this group of vicious desperados, I instantly activated Bloodlust Berserk. All my muscles swelled at once. Base stats tripled, and all pain was blocked. I kicked off from the ground, my entire body turning into a blur. The 2 people at the front didn't even see what hit them, before their chests were sliced smoothly open. Amid the clash of throwing weapons, I rampaged through them like a tiger among sheep. In less than 10 seconds, only severed limbs remained from over a dozen thugs. The leader with a severed arm was scared out of his mind, staggering backward to the control panel. He slammed down a big red button. Let's all die together then. The chains at the bottom of the pit were suddenly released. That Tier 3 ironhide boar demon roared and charged up, crashing into me like a heavy tank, just as its tusks were about to pierce through me. I poured all my points into blade skills, forcing a breakthrough. A passive skill triggered. The boar demon's bone structure was clear as day to me. I didn't dodge at all, sliding under its belly and past it in one smooth motion. My long blade was like a surgical scalpel, cutting straight through its weakest cartilage seam, slicing in with 0 resistance. I slowly stood up, casually flicking the blood off my blade. With a thunderous crash, the boar demon behind me split right down the middle, severed smoothly into 2 symmetrical halves. The thug leader collapsed to the ground and literally died of fright. At this moment, berserk mode was ending. I fought through the weakness, plunged my blade into the still beating heart of the boar demon, and devoured the heart flesh in big gulps. A notification sounded in my mind. Successfully extracted demon beast genes. Obtained second talent. Absolute ironhide. A layer of dark metallic gloss instantly appeared on my skin, immune to all slashing attacks of the same rank. But before I could even try out my new ability, the steel doors to the abandoned workshop Suddenly, a surge of violent flaming ki shattered it into fragments of iron. A hulking man, built like an iron tower, carrying a massive burning Janmadao, stepped into the sea of fire with murderous intent.
It was Li Biao, the city defense deputy commander.
You've really surprised me. A piece of trash without any key. Not only did you survive the rat's nest, but you actually managed to trash my place single-handedly. It looks like I'll have to burn you to ash myself. Rolling waves of heat poured into the workshop. Rank 4 martial artist Li Biao held a 2-meter fiery mad blade, stepped into the sea of fire with murderous intent. He stared intently at the wild boar demon split in two on the ground.
He laughed out of sheer rage.
Linjuan, even if you had 9 lives today, I would still roast you into charcoal, inch by inch. Facing the death threat of a rank 4 powerhouse, my expression remained as calm as still water.
And so,
I slowly raised the chipped long blade in my hand. The tip of the blade pointed directly at his face.
Too much nonsense.
You owe me the lives of my squad brothers. I'm here to collect them myself. Li Biao was furious. The ki in his body leaped like boiling magma, swinging down a flaming blade beam several meters long.
Die.
But just then, I let out a low growl in my heart. At the same time, I activated 2 talents, Bloodthirsty Berserk and Absolute Iron Skin. I didn't even try to dodge or hide, stepped forward slightly, and puffed out my chest. With a loud clang, the fiery mad blade landed squarely on my left shoulder, engulfing me completely in a sea of crimson fire. You arrogant fool! Turn into ashes. However, his wild laughter lasted less than 2 seconds. Before it came to an abrupt halt, the flames dissipated. I stood straight, as if cast from black iron. That fatal strike, said to melt steel, didn't even break my skin. This is impossible. What kind of evil art have you practiced? Don't you have no key? I didn't give him any chance to breathe. An art to kill you. Muscles tensed to the extreme. I gripped the broken long blade tightly with both hands, relying purely on terrifying physical strength. I swung a heavy basic attack. Amidst the ear-piercing sonic boom, a half-moon shockwave blasted out. There was no violent explosion, only a hair-raising cutting sound. This overwhelming physical monster strength instantly shredded Li Biao's ki, shield, along with the Janmadao in his hand, and split them in two. Half of Li Biao's body slid down, along an extremely smooth cut. The rank 4 martial artist died without a whole corpse on the spot. A massive sense of fatigue instantly washed over me. I spat out a mouthful of blood, and could only prop myself up with the long blade. But just at that moment, hundreds of fully armed city defense soldiers flooded into the workshop, blocking the door completely.
He killed Commander Li.
Open fire! Kill him on the spot! 100 steam rifles were aimed at me simultaneously.
My gaze was cold,
prepared to fight to the death and take them with me. At the moment they were about to pull their triggers, a soul-freezing aura of extreme cold poured down. All firearms were instantly covered in thick frost. The triggers were frozen solid. Who dares to fire? Liu Rubbing, at the peak of rank 5, drifted down, instantly suppressed the scene with terrifying pressure. She directly threw out evidence of Li Biao's demon smuggling, and expelled all the city defense soldiers on the spot. Only the 2 of us remained in the vast workshop. Liu Rubbing turned around. Her deep eyes stared directly at me. No danshin, not a single trace of ki fluctuation in your body. Yet you could withstand the fiery mad blade of a rank 4 martial artist, and even use pure physical strength to unleash a sonic boom half-moon slash. Linjuan, just who are you? Facing the pressure of a rank 5 powerhouse, I casually wiped the blood from the blade. I'm just a failure who can't even learn the ki induction technique. As for why I could kill him, maybe I was born with divine strength. Plus, he underestimated his enemy too much. Liu Rubbing let out a cold snort, obviously not buying it. But she didn't bother to press further. She casually threw me an Exorcist Guard auxiliary token. This token will allow you to bypass the city gate curfew. If you want to live, go find your own way out. With that, she turned into a streak of light and vanished into the night. I knew there was no longer a place for me in the city. Using the token, I walked out of Jiang City's steel gates overnight. The dark forest at the edge of the Great Wasteland was full of danger. I desperately needed to eat to replenish my strength. Soon, I spotted a rank 2 Windwolf that was currently feeding. With the help of the blade technique effects, I dropped silently like a withered leaf. With a flick of my wrist, the long blade cut precisely into the gap of its cervical vertebrae. The massive Wolf head slid off instantly, killing across ranks. Smooth as silk, I carved out the Windwolf's heart and swallowed it, just as I was about to find a place to rest. To my surprise at that moment, a piercing, eerie buzz erupted from the deepest part of the Great Wasteland. I jerked my head up, only to see the night sky 10 kilometers away being torn apart. A crimson light pillar, reeking of blood, soared into the sky. Countless distorted faces wailed in the light pillar. A blood-colored array covering several square kilometers was slowly taking shape. The demon god cult's blood sacrifice array. I narrowed my eyes, wiping the blood from the corner of my mouth. For an ordinary martial artist, this would definitely be a signal to run for their lives. But in my eyes, an extremely excited hunting light ignited. Then I gripped my long blade, like a hungry wolf scenting blood. I dove straight into that dark, dense forest. I lurked at the top of a towering tree. The air was so thick it felt like I could inhale bloody residue. Below was a giant pit 100 meters in diameter. The fanatics of the demon god cult were slitting the throats of hundreds of martial artists like livestock. As a massive amount of blood gathered into the array, the ground trembled. The soil churned like a boiling swamp. A pink toxic mist seeped crazily from underground. That's rank 4 phantom mist. The poison barrier demon is almost immune to physical attacks, and extremely toxic. Even a rank 5 martial artist would hallucinate instantly from one breath. Just as I was preparing to retreat quietly, a very faint electrical hum came from behind. A sense of crisis pierced my brain like a steel needle. Relying purely on instinct, my body lunged forward and fell directly from the treetop. Whoosh! An afterimage wrapped in lightning instantly shredded the tree trunk where I had been standing. It was a rank 3 peak thunder shadow leopard, fast as a thunderbolt, clearly a watchdog of the demon god cult. It stared at me intently, once again turning into blue lightning and lunging for my throat. But I didn't intend to dodge at all. System, activate. Absolute iron skin. I snorted coldly. A dark black metallic luster instantly covered my body. The thunder shadow leopard's claws struck my chest, exploding into a dense spray of sparks, but leaving only a few white marks. A hint of bewilderment flashed in its eyes, clearly not understanding why I was so tough. But I had already reached out and grabbed its forelimbs tightly. I grinned. Got you. Under the vision of Butcher's insight, the gaps in its abdominal bones were clearly visible. Instead of retreating, I pressed forward. My fingers joined like a blade. I focused all my monstrous strength on my fingertips and drove a hand blade strike deep into its abdomen. P.S. I crudely tore through its heart vessels and directly gouged out that lightning-entwined heart, swallowing it on the spot. The scalding demon blood exploded in my stomach. The system notification instantly rang out. Gene successfully extracted. Obtained third talent, Thunderous Godspeed. Base speed increased by 500%. And attacks now carry a lightning paralysis effect. Just then, heavy snow began to fall without warning. The originally hot air dropped directly below freezing. I looked up and saw Liu rubbing clad in a silver-blue combat suit, leaping down from high altitude with a sword. Scum of the demon god cult, your blood sacrifice ends here. With a wave of her hand, a sky full of ice blades instantly pinned dozens of cultists to the spot. Immediately after, he conjured a 40-meter-long ice arrow. He aimed it at the toxic slime-like mist fiend below and brought it down hard. But who could have predicted that the sword energy, strong enough to cut through mountains, would strike the monster like slicing into a sponge? It was instantly corroded, dissolved, and mutated. The mist fiend let out a bizarre screech. Its massive body suddenly contracted sharply. Then it spewed out a vast amount of pink toxins. Everyone took to the air. Activate your true energy barrier. Liu Rubin barked out the order. But those toxins were incredibly penetrating. They ignored all defenses.
Emitter.
The highly trained demon subjugation guard elites began to self-mutilate violently. Some strangled themselves. Others attacked their own comrades. Even Liu Ruben was hit. His silver-blue true energy scattered out of control. He plummeted from the sky like a bird shot out of the air. With a sharp thud, he crashed hard into the mud. He coughed up mouthfuls of pink blood.
His legs were completely numb.
As the Mistfiend's tentacles were about to tear this untouchable flower apart, I locked my gaze on a fissure in the cliff. A Tier 3 fresh mana serpent was curled there. It was greedily devouring the surrounding toxins. This was the final piece of the puzzle. I drew my long blade with a swift motion. My figure shot forth like a streak of blue lightning. Destination, the toxin-immune serpent. On the edge of the cliff, a Tier 3 fresh mana python was leisurely devouring transforming toxins. This beast was blind? It hunted purely by heat sensing. Just as it was gulping down another mouthful, I instantly unleashed my thunder god's speed. The rock beneath my feet exploded apart. I rushed out in a burst of blue lightning. The python had no time to dodge. My huge hand gripped its vital spot tightly. A surge of violent electricity shot into its body, paralyzing it in an instant. Without a word, I slit open its belly with one slice. A glowing, jade-green serpent gallbladder, radiating exotic fragrance, was ripped out by me. Without hesitation, I raised my head and swallowed it whole. As the gallbladder slid down my throat, an extreme chill erupted immediately. The dizziness in my brain vanished without a trace. A mechanical system chime sounded in my mind. Extracting core beast genes. Gain new innate skill. Absolute immunity to toxins and mind control. Current talent slots are full. Do you wish to replace one? Gazing at the clouds of poison gas around me, my eyes steeled as I gave the command decisively. System, swap out Absolute Ironhide with the new talent. With the system confirmation, the metallic luster on my skin rapidly faded, but right at that moment, those deadly pink toxins around me acted as if encountering an absolute repulsion field. They instantly withdrew. I've gotten the key to breaking the deadlock. I snapped my gaze toward the battlefield hundreds of meters away. At this moment, the remaining demon subjugation guards were convulsing on the ground in hallucinations. In the heart of the battlefield, the high and mighty Captain Liu Ruben was kneeling on one knee in a pool of blood. The poison mist had completely invaded his nerves.
His Tier 5 true energy has stagnated like dead water.
To the rear stood the blood-clad steward, letting out a perverse and maniacal laugh. Directly commanding the Mistfiend, it swung a massive tentacle dripping with strong acid. The tentacle shot straight for Liu Ruben's heart. Facing certain death, he shut his eyes in despair. Just as the tentacle was less than half a meter away, I simultaneously pushed Bloodthirsty Rampage and Thunder. Godspeed to their limits. A wild surge of blue lightning tore through the cloud of poison without mercy. I crashed into the heart of the battlefield in an instant, harnessing unstoppable momentum from the sprint. My long blade became lightning, slashing hard at the tentacle. With a piercing, tearing scream, that tentacle, as thick as a barrel, was forcibly cut off by my strike. Freshly oozing toxins sizzled on my back, but I didn't even flinch. I stood before Liu Ruben like Mount Tai, and he stared at me in shock as he opened his eyes.
He fixed his gaze on my back.
His voice was filled with utter disbelief. That was a Tier 4 transforming poison staff. Even a Tier 6 warrior wouldn't charge in here without a shield. How did you get in? I shook the goo from my blade, tossed out a line without looking back. I just held my breath and ran in, hearing that perfunctory answer. Liu Ruben's expression went blank for a moment, but I paid him no mind, because the Mistfiend, now missing its tentacle, had gone into a complete frenzy. A torrent of toxic tentacles whipped madly at us. I lowered my stance, locked on to the massive creature ahead, and issued an order with absolute authority. Can you still fight? Its physical damage absorption is so annoying. I can't break it. Hold it for me just 0.1 seconds. I'll finish it off, no hesitation. Liu Ruben bit his tongue sharply, forcing himself to stay conscious. All right. He wrung out the last trace of extreme cold true energy from his body, without holding back. Extreme ice technique. Absolute ice prison. A wave of absolute zero cold surged out, instantly engulfing the Mistfiend. The cracking of ice resounded continuously. That body, able to absorb physical attacks, was solidly frozen into a pink iceberg. But the Mistfiend furiously struggled back. The ice would break in no more than 0.1 seconds. Exhausted, Liu Ruben collapsed to the ground. He shouted hoarsely.
Now.
He didn't even have to remind me. I was already roaring madly in my mind. System, dump all points into me. Pour them into the basic demon-slaying blade. As the system alert sounded, my technique broke through its limits, unlocked armor ignore and blade breaker effect. I kicked off the ground hard. I shot into the air like a blue meteor. Every muscle tensed in my body. I raised my long blade high. Channeling unstoppable force, I unleashed a devastating strike with the long blade. It ripped the air apart and sent a dozen-meter-long wave of black lightning roaring out, landing a perfect blow in the middle of the iceberg, right in the center die. A terrifying shattering noise echoed through the wildlands. That mountain-sized Tier 4 greater demon was sliced smoothly in half by me. The residual shockwave even carved a 100-meter-long gash into the ground. The bisected Mistfiend collapsed with a crash. Ice shards scattered in all directions. I landed, gasping for breath, just as I was about to turn to Liu Ruben. Suddenly, in the dead silence of the ruins, a slow, deliberate applause rang out. Both Liu Ruben and I stiffened instantly. An overwhelming, suffocating pressure descended without warning. It instantly locked down all surrounding space. Even the drifting ice shards were frozen in midair by that force. At the end of the gorge, I'd split open. The blood-clad High Steward strolled out of the shadows as if on a walk. His crimson eyes were fixed on me, filled with a sickly fanaticism. I've been lurking on the wildland's edge for years. I never expected today to come across such an unbelievably perfect specimen. Before he could finish speaking, he casually pointed at me from a distance. I didn't see any trace of his attack at all. A tidal wave of overwhelming force instantly shattered my chest bones. I spewed blood wildly as I was sent flying dozens of meters back. I crashed hard into a pile of rocks. Liu Ruben was even sent flying by the shockwave, completely losing consciousness. The bloody robe steward appeared before me in a flash, like teleportation. He looked down at me condescendingly. He stretched out his tongue and licked his parched lips, letting out a chilling, creepy laugh. If you had vital energy, maybe you could have become a hero. Too bad, you're just worthless. But don't worry, I'll take you back to the sanctum and turn you into an immortal living corpse. The heavy stench of blood filled the air. The pressure from a 5th-rank peak expert felt like an iron curtain. The bloody robe steward let out an icy, twisted laugh. An enormous, terrifying dark red aura gathered and formed a giant palm print. He was about to crush my bones with this strike and turn me into a living corpse. Facing this overwhelming attack, a look of madness flashed in my eyes. You want to turn me into a living corpse? Old bat, you're not worthy. I suddenly turned my head, looking at the bottomless wasteland abyss behind me, the abyssal chasm. Either way, it's death. I'd rather become a beast down below. With that thought, I bit down hard on my lip and roared insanely in my heart. System, push bloodlust frenzy to the limit for me. Burn my life force, turn it on. Right after that, the vital force in my body exploded like a powder keg. My skin split open with countless bloody gashes. I went berserk like a raging beast, grabbed the unconscious Liu Ruben in my arms, holding her tightly against my chest. The next second, with my back to the descending blood palm, I leapt toward the abyssal chasm. But the bloody robe steward saw through my intentions, snorted coldly, and pressed down with his right hand, courting death. With a thunderous crash, the massive blood palm print landed squarely on my back. It felt like being hit head-on by a high-speed train. Blood gushed from my mouth as I looked to the sky, and yet I gritted my teeth and withstood the blow. I even used that terrifying force to hold Liu Ruben in my arms and dove headfirst into the gray-black abyss. But I kept staring at the bottom of the abyss. An extremely terrifying aura forcibly came to a halt, turned around and disappeared into the darkness. Falling endlessly, the howling wind sounded like wailing ghosts and wolves. I fought through the searing pain tearing across my back, cradled Liu Ruben tightly in my arms, But right at that moment, deep in the valley bottom, suddenly without warning, hundreds of massive crimson eyes lit up. The abyss awakened. A loud crash rang out. We crashed through layers of ancient vines, slamming hard into the muddy valley floor. The force of impact made me cough up blood again. Both tibias snapped. Left arm bent backwards unnaturally. The excruciating pain nearly drowned my consciousness. But I gasped for air and used my only functioning right hand to pat Liu Rubing in my arms. Hey, wake up, the once high and mighty captain, now with eyes shut tight and cyanotic lips. The vicious blood poison had completely overtaken him. His whole body started to tremble violently. So cold, he murmured weakly. Instinctively tried to burrow into my chest, searching for warmth. But just then, a bone-chilling roar echoed from the darkness. A dozen pus-covered Tier 3 patricide hounds were closing in on us over the rotting leaves. The blood I spat out earlier had become a rare delicacy in their eyes. I spat out a mouthful of bloody froth. My gaze instantly turned cold. I laid Liu Rubing flat on the ground, then dragged my mangled legs over to a fallen ancient tree. I clenched my teeth, and with my right hand forced the bone spear jutting from my skin brutally back into place. The agony made me break out in a cold sweat. I ripped open my uniform and splinted my right leg, using my knife as a crutch. I forced myself to stand on one leg. I was swaying and about to fall, yet I still stood protectively in front of Liu Rubing. You want him? I bowed my head slightly and slowly raised the jagged long blade, pointing it straight at the hound pack leader. You want him? Step over my dead body first. As soon as I finished my words, a dozen hounds lunged at me at once. I pushed off with my one good leg, dodging their gaping jaws, and viciously slashed upward with my blade, eviscerating the pack leader and pulling out its intestines. But there were too many hounds. They instantly bit into my shoulder and thigh. I didn't care how much flesh they tore away. Instead, like a lone wolf guarding its meal, I crashed back into the pack. The long blade became a reaper's scythe. One hound clamped onto my shattered leg, trying to drag me down. With brutal resolve, I dragged the blade along its skull and drove it in deep, pinning it ruthlessly to the ground. The gruesome battle raged for a full half-hour, until the last hound tucked its tail and fled into the darkness. I was panting heavily, coated in blood from head to toe, and glanced back at Liu Rubing. Safe now. I dragged my completely ruined right leg over to his side, dropped my blade, and, using my last good hand, struggled to pick him up, gritting my teeth like a dying worm. Little by little, I dragged him into a hidden natural cave. After lying him on a flat stone, the string inside me, stretched to the brink, snapped completely. My vision plunged into endless darkness. My battered body collapsed like dead wood, landing heavily at his feet. Cold and dark, with the nauseating stench of blood, I woke up to an agony that felt like it tore at my soul. A sharp pain in my chest from grinding bones. At least 20 fractures from the fall. But I ignored my own wounds. And with my only right hand, I felt around for nearby stones. Soon, I managed to touch Liu Rubing's arm, colder than a millennium-old slab of ice. By the faint glow, I saw the ancient blood poison racing toward his heart. At most half an hour left. Before this powerful Tier 5 Valkyrie would perish, I gritted my teeth. A savage light flickered in my eyes. I can't let it end like this. Not in this dead end. Conventional means can't save her now. I need a high-tier beast's tremendous vitality. I stripped off my battered jacket and covered him with it, then grabbed my jagged long blade, dragging myself like a dying python. I crawled bit by bit out of the cave. In a nearby swamp, I found a set of giant three-toed footprints. Rocks all around were corroded by strong acid, left behind by a Tier 4 mutant earth dragon beast. A monster with terrifying life force and regenerative power. You're the one. A cold, ruthless glint flashed in my eyes. I dragged my crippled body, cut down ancient vines, and bound them to a massive stalactite, suspending it in midair. Then I dug a deep pit in the swamp, lined it with sharp blade fragments. After getting all this ready, I had used up the very last of my strength. I collapsed backward into the muddy water. I smashed up the hound carcasses, filling the air with the scent of blood. It wasn't long before the ground started to tremble slightly. A Tier 4 Earth Dragon beast over 7 meters long climbed out following the scent. Its earthy yellow pupils locked onto me instantly. It charged like a heavy armored vehicle. Just as it was about to step into the trap, I yanked the vine tight with my right hand. Boom! The enormous stalactite slammed down right on the beast's spine. It let out a pained roar. Its front claws plunged directly into the pit, to be stabbed instantly by the blade fragments buried at the bottom. The Earth Dragon beast went completely berserk, thrashing madly at the surrounding rocks. This was the opening I'd been waiting for. I pushed off the ground with my one arm and launched myself up, bit the back of my blade, and gripped the beast's upturned scale on its neck with my right hand. The Earth Dragon beast shook its head violently. I felt like my right arm was about to be torn off, but I refused to let go. I locked onto the soft spot under its jaw, released the blade from my mouth and gripped it tightly, and plunged the blade to the hilt in its neck. Die for me in that instant with a ripping sound. Scalding dragon blood sprayed out like a high-pressure hose, drenching me completely in blood. The Earth Dragon beast howled in agony, and finally collapsed with a crash, pinning me underneath. With my last bit of strength, I crawled out. Then, with both hands, tore open its chest cavity. I buried my face into its massive heart, gorging on the steaming heart flesh. Finally, the system notification exploded in my mind. Ding! Extracting beast core genes. Acquired god-level regeneration. Rebirth from a drop of blood. Current talent slots are full. Do you wish to replace one? While lying in a pool of blood, I forced a smile. With a thought, I replaced toxin and mental immunity with absolute immunity. At the very instant the replacement was complete, a torrent of powerful vitality surged through me, flooding every inch of my body. The broken bones in my lower leg slid back into place on their own. My limp left arm regained its strength. Wounds deep enough to expose the bone healed completely in just a few breaths. The scabs all fell off in less than 10 seconds. Once crippled, I rose from a pool of blood. As long as I'm not instantly killed, I can regenerate endlessly. I took a deep breath. I turned and ran back into the cave. At this moment, Liu Rubing's breathing was barely detectable. I didn't hesitate at all. I picked up a sharp stone and slashed hard at my left wrist. Blood full of immense vitality gushed out instantly. I pried open his clenched jaw and brought my wrist to his mouth. The wound healed rapidly. I slashed it open again, over and over again. As the blood entered his stomach, the poisonous blood within Liu Rubing quickly dissolved. His body temperature began to rise. I don't know how long passed. He struggled to open his icy blue eyes. He stared blankly at my instantly healed wrist, sensing the vast vitality repairing his meridians inside. His mind went utterly blank. You're awake. Just swallow it yourself. I casually shook off my wrist, letting the wound heal quickly. Liu Rubing looked at my blood-covered face, his usually cold voice now slightly softened. There was a touch of gentleness in it. Why did you save me? I glanced at him, tore off a strip of cloth and wiped the blood from my hand. I hate owing anyone favors in this lifetime. Outside Zhangcheng, you saved my life. Just now in the miasma, you helped me hold back the great demon. Now we're even. I calmly tossed out these words. They echoed in the empty, dim cave. Liu Rubing looked at me, covered in blood, yet still standing tall, and fell into a long, deep silence. Moments later, he quietly started restoring his meridians with new vitality. My blood, brimming with terrifying life force, not only neutralized his poison, but even imperceptibly, strengthened his fragile spellcaster meridians. A few hours later, the toxins in the abyss had faded a bit. Your body's all right now, right? I stood up and stretched. There's too much blood sent here. We have to find a way out of the bottom of this canyon. Liu Rubing steadied herself against the stone wall and stood up. She closed her eyes and sensed for a moment. She pointed toward the deep darkness at the bottom of the abyss. Heading north, my spirit is still sensing something over there. There is an incredibly pure and intense cold energy calling to me. Maybe that's the way out. I nodded. Without asking much, I led the way. I used my broken blade to hack through vines and open a path. We trekked through the damp valley floor for most of the day. The further north we went, the colder it got. Who could have guessed that after passing through a stone forest? A massive bronze ruin suddenly appeared. The gate was dozens of meters tall. It emanated the ancient, vast aura of another era. This is the relic of an ancient martial god. Liu Rubing was breathing heavily. We pushed open the heavy bronze doors and entered the interior of the ruins. In the center of the great hall stood a huge crystal pillar.
Inside,
A scroll formed from frost energy hovered suspended. The mid-volume of the extreme cold heavenly canon. His ice-blue eyes were filled with disbelief. With that scroll, he could break through the bottleneck at the peak of Tier 5. Looks like you got lucky. I scanned the surroundings. Go receive the inheritance. Restore your true energy. Otherwise, I can't get you up that sheer cliff by myself. Liu Rubing nodded, but he didn't rush forward. He turned and found a spot sheltered from the wind, gathered the dry ancient wood together, and started a fire. Just as I was about to sit down, he suddenly tore off a piece of clean inner lining, moistened it with spring water and walked toward me. Once considered the unattainable flower of the heights. Now he was kneeling on one knee. So gently he wiped the dried blood from my face. I can do it myself. My wounds are fully healed. I felt a bit awkward and tried to move away. Don't move. Liu Rubing's voice was clear and cold, but stubborn. He looked at the scars on my bronze skin. His eyes were turning red. What exactly have you gone through before? Your fighting instincts are like those of a beast struggling in a mountain of corpses and sea of blood. I stared at the flickering campfire, stayed silent for a long time, finally spoke slowly. I have no parents. Grew up in the slums, fighting for stale buns. Later, I joined the demon-slaying guards. The captain was a veteran. That old guy used to call me useless. But when trouble came, he'd always take the hit first. He said he was saving up military merit to bring his wife and kids. But the higher-ups wanted to cover up smuggling. So they sent a fake order sending our whole team into the rat den. In your eyes, we're just expendable numbers. Now you see why I don't believe in rules. Liu Rubing's hand trembled slightly. The blood-stained cloth dropped to the ground. I'm sorry. There's no need to apologize. You're not like them. I grinned. At least you dared, for a so-called loser, to point your sword at the city defense commander. After resting, Liu Rubing resolutely stepped into the bluish inheritance light. The extreme cold energy instantly enveloped him. His aura rose terrifyingly fast. I guarded the doorway, broken blade in hand. But just 10 minutes into the inheritance, the energy fluctuations triggered the ruin's defensive array. Along with a heavy rumbling sound, the rock wall on the right side of the hall collapsed with a roar. A mutated Tier 5 beast nearly 30 meters tall, the mountain-wandering ancient ape, furiously squeezed its way out. Its searchlight-like, blood-red eyes instantly locked on. Liu Rubing raised a fist as big as a hill and charged forward. I stood unwavering in its path, activating both Bloodlust Frenzy and Thunder Godspeed simultaneously. Big guy, this path is blocked. I gripped my long blade tightly with both hands, pointing straight at the mountain-sized Tier 5 ancient ape. As long as I'm here, no one gets to lay a finger on him today. Meanwhile, in the stone forest hundreds of meters outside the ruins, dozens of blood-robe cultists were descending to the valley bottom via chains, spreading out in groups of 3 to search. 3 cultists pressed forward with steam-powered crossbows, cursing under their breath. They had no idea that I was lurking like a black panther, already sprawled atop a beam above them. The moment they passed below, I dropped straight down, my right hand spread wide, and grabbed the lead captain's skull, crushing it with Titan Force's destructive effect. His true energy shield burst like a soap bubble. I clenched my fingers and crushed his skull by pure force. The other 2 were scared out of their wits, just about to pull the trigger to help each other. But in that instant, an invisible wave of extreme cold true energy swept over their weapons and perfectly froze their vocal cords and finger joints. Liu Rubing's control was spot on. I moved in like a ghost, grabbed both their necks with my hands. The crisp sound of snapping echoed, and both lost all signs of life. I casually tossed their bodies aside. Nicely done. I gave a thumbs up toward the thick fog. Keep plucking their outermost eyes. A one-sided slaughter unfolded silently in the abyss. Squads kept mysteriously losing contact. when the fourth team discovered the mangled corpses of teammates crushed by brute force. Utter panic erupted. They scrambled and crawled back, firing red signal flares like crazy. The blood-robe archdeacon floating in midair saw the SOS signals and roared furiously. He knew we were causing trouble. He immediately unleashed Tier 5 peak-level evil true energy, slamming both hands down. Blood-searing tornado. A crimson storm swept through with unstoppable force. Hundreds of meters worth of giant trees and poisonous mists were uprooted and thoroughly shredded. The thick fog dissipated, revealing a devastated landscape. At the edge of the clearing where the storm died down, I dragged a blood-robed corpse whose neck I had just broken, slowly emerging from the darkness. I casually tossed the corpse at the blood-robed deacon's feet. A wild, cold smile curled at my lips. "Old bat, are you looking for me?" My voice, overflowing with madness and killing intent, echoed like thunder at the bottom of the canyon. The blood-robe archdeacon in midair suddenly lowered his head, his face like withered tree bark, full of shock. "It's you didn't die?" "Fell off the cliff, got hit by my vintage blood venom. How are you still alive?" I twisted my neck, my bones crackling loudly, stuck out my tongue to lick the blood off my lips. Obviously, I climbed back up, to twist your head off piece by piece, and use it as a ball. Arrogant ant. Today I will utterly crush you. Before he finished speaking, he completely exploded in rage. Terrifying Tier 5 peak true energy burst out without holding anything back. A giant hand appeared in midair, twice as large as before, dark red and massive. It carried apocalyptic weight and slammed down hard, facing this deadly smash. My eyes showed nothing but wild, boiling rage. Battle will system activated. Bloodlust frenzy activated. Titan force, the vital energy inside me, underwent a qualitative transformation like a nuclear explosion. A scorching dark red glow spread across my body surface. A 300-fold attribute boost stacked with 10 times absolute strength. Right after that, I didn't back down. Instead, on the bronze floor, I twisted my waist to the limit. Today I'll show you what it means to defeat 10 with sheer force. Prepare to get shattered by me, accompanied by a roar like an ancient god. I stomped the ground hard with both legs, like a cruise missile shooting in reverse, and fiercely launched my right fist. This punch's raw physical power broke the sound barrier and collided with that sky-covering chemical palm print. They crashed together mid-air with shocking impact. The blood-clad steward's cruel grin froze instantly. A sharp cracking sound. A subtle but clear shattering noise followed. That arrogant fifth-tier palm print, shockingly with my hit as the center. Countless cracks spread rapidly. Amid the thunderous boom, the palm print stood no chance against brute force. It didn't even last half a second. It exploded instantly into a bloody rain. That's impossible. What kind of monster are you? The blood-clad steward was terrified out of his wits. He desperately channeled his ki, trying to escape upward, to the sky. Now it's too late to run. I stomped fiercely in the void, using air pressure to propel myself with dominance, and instantly appeared in front of him. He screamed in terror, suddenly forming an ultimate blood fiend shield in front of himself. "Block this, block your ass." I didn't even bother with half a word of nonsense. My right leg whistled with a piercing sonic boom and came down like a battle axe, striking hard. A sharp clang rang out. The shield shattered like a cheap cookie. Without slowing down my long leg, I brutally smashed his right shoulder blade. Accompanied by her shrill cries of pain, I grabbed onto her face tightly. "Last time you knocked me into the abyss in your arrogance. Feels good, doesn't it?" And then, my body plunged down with enormous force midair. Clutching his head, with absolute violence, I smashed it into the hard ancient bronze floor. The terrifying impact instantly created a huge crater. The blood-clad steward collapsed like mud among the rubble, his bones completely crushed, vomiting mouthfuls of black blood. But just at that moment, a surge of bitter hatred and madness filled his eyes. "You forced me to this. Let's die together." He suddenly stabbed his left hand into his dantian and crushed his fifth-tier peak ki core. A pillar of ominous dark red light brimming with destruction shot straight to the sky.
He actually unleashed the forbidden blood demon self-destruction technique.
In just a few breaths,
A terrifying demonic figure, towering 50 meters high,
engulfed in raging blood-red flames, erupted from the ground. In the distance, Liu Rubing shouted anxiously, calling Lin Zhuan's name.
Get back.
But I still stood my ground, rooted like a nail. I lowered my head slightly. With my thick right hand, I grabbed beneath my feet a bronze door pillar fragment weighing over 1,500 kilograms, and effortlessly pulled it out. I held it firmly in my hand. A hysterical, maniacal laugh echoed from within the blood demon. You really think you can stop me with a piece of scrap metal? Turn to dust. 6 massive, mountain-like blood-red arms came smashing down furiously, facing this apocalyptic onslaught. I closed my eyes and forced my ocean-like internal energy to violently compress inward, pouring it forcefully into the bronze fragment. Divine technique. I snapped my eyes open and, facing the descending giant arms, from the ground up, executed a direct, unsophisticated upward slash. Void slash. My voice was calm as could be. There was no explosion, as if the entire world had been muted. Along the trajectory of the fragment, suddenly, a hair-thin black line appeared. That was the pure physical power of me breaking my limits, ripping open a void fracture by brute force. The black crack slammed right into the blood demon's shadow. There was a sizzle, like a hot knife slicing through butter. All 6 indestructible arms were severed cleanly. The rift, undeterred, smoothly swept through the massive body of the demon. A breeze blew by, and this giant beast disintegrated into a cloud of blood-red dust without a sound, vanishing completely. At the instant the demonic shadow dissipated, I looked up and spewed a mouthful of blood. I took on a horrific backlash, and my right arm instantly exploded into a mist of blood, exposing the gleaming white bone. The bronze fragment in my hand also turned to dust and drifted away. But in the next second, blood rebirth activated passively. Countless fleshy buds squirmed wildly, and in just a few breaths, a fully intact right arm regrew. I exhaled a long, heavy breath, stepped to the edge of the pit, and pulled off the space ring soaked in blood. Just then, shrill screams echoed from atop the cliff. The cultists who witnessed all this vomited bile out of pure terror and frantically scrambled up the chain. I didn't chase after them, but turned toward Liu Rubing, a wild grin tugging at the corner of my mouth. Have you seen enough? If so, it's time to get to work. What kind of work? Hunting out traitors. That pack of scum from the city defense army threw me into the wasteland like garbage. It's time to settle that score. Come on, we're heading back to River City, a chasm several kilometers deep, with Rubing conjuring a 5th-level key of extreme cold above the gorge, rising lightly on icy lotus pads. Meanwhile, I stared at the thick diamond chains hanging from the cliff top and flashed a savage, feral smile. Mind if I borrow your rope? I grabbed the chain and, with titan-like strength, kicked off hard from the ground. With a piercing sonic boom, I rocketed upward like a heavy shell, soaring over 100 meters in an instant. I sprinted up the nearly vertical cliff face, like a humanoid T-Rex. The cultists from Athens heard the rumble below, and faces ghastly pale started hacking at the chains in a frenzy. Cut it. Don't let that monster get up here. Just as the chain was about to snap, I hung in midair and let out a thunderous roar, putting sudden power into my waist. Want it broken? Let me help you. I swung the kilometers-long chain like a whip, lashing it hard toward the top of the cliff. The chain transformed into a raging death dragon, slamming against the edge of the cliff. Massive collapse erupted instantly. More than a dozen cultists didn't even have time to scream before they were smashed into a blizzard of bloody flesh.
Bang!
I grabbed the edge of the cliff hard and landed on the yellow earth above. Liu Rubing floated down gracefully beside me. The nearby beasts sensed the deadly rage still lingering on me and went mad, fleeing deeper into the abyss. I looked up at the edge of the horizon and strode toward River City. At River City's gate No. 9, the city defense army was on high alert. As Liu Rubing and I approached, to within 100 meters of the city gate, the true key ballistae atop the city wall were all locked onto us. The battalion chief stood atop the gate, bellowing under the protection of the city formation. Lin Zhuan, you assassinated an imperial officer. Your crime is unforgivable. Surrender immediately. I stopped in my tracks, smirking with a mocking sneer. I didn't say a word, but Liu Rubing stepped forward. Her 6th level initial extreme cold ki erupted violently, instantly freezing the area within 100 meters to absolute zero. 6th level? She's a level 6 fighter. Captain Liu broke through. The soldiers on the wall recoiled in terror. Open the gate. Li Biao colluded with the black market. He deserves more than death. Anyone who stands in my way today will be executed for treason. On the spot, while the battalion chief sweated profusely, unable to give orders, a hint of impatience in my expression, I dug at my ear and casually pulled out a metal badge stained with black blood. Then, with a flick of my wrist, I hurled it at the 100-meter city wall. Like it was nothing. The badge embedded itself right into the tower in front of the battalion chief. He looked down, and his pupils shrank to pinpoints immediately. That's the Grand Deacon's badge from the demon god cult. Where did you get that? Picked it up after killing an old bat, just casual. I brushed the dust from my hands, my voice arrogant and hoarse, echoing throughout both inner and outer sections of River City. Let me tell you this. Tell those arrogant, self-important fools up there. Lin Zhuan has climbed out of the abyss and is here to deliver a message. Wash your necks nice and clean, and wait for me to collect my dues. That blood-red badge I casually tossed out was clamped tightly around the throats of every soldier in the city. The demon god cult's Grand Deacon? That's someone even the top River City officials fear. A 5th level master at his peak. Yet here I am, a wanted outcast, claiming I killed him just offhand. That terrifying blood aura left on the badge couldn't possibly be faked. The entire defense battalion had icy sweat covering their gun-wielding hands. Liu Rubing stepped forward, and her 6th level extreme cold ki instantly froze steel itself. Open the gate! The battalion chief shouted, forcing himself to comply. But protested, this isn't by the book. He's a dangerous criminal. Li Biao's smuggling was confirmed beyond doubt. Lin Zhuan is under the exclusive jurisdiction of the Demon Suppression Guard. Liu Rubing's voice was ice-cold, not giving any room for negotiation. Open the gate now. Under absolute power, the massive No. 9 gate rumbled open, carrying a beast bone. I stepped across this barrier between classes, expressionless, and entered the inner city. Liu Rubing tried to persuade me to join the Demon Suppression Guard, but I'm not joining the guard. I cut her off directly and looked up toward the command tower. There sits Xiao Tiangang, a 6th level martial king. I may be wild, but I'm not stupid. Rushing straight for the command tower now isn't guaranteed to be a kill. I need points. I need to make Void Cut stronger. And the unprecedented beast tide that's about to sweep through River City is my best hunting ground. Don't follow me, or you'll end up reeking too. I turned and plunged into a dark alley, arrived at the 3rd slum, pushed open the leaking metal shack. I saw the old captain's wife and daughter. They were both sick and frail. They couldn't even drink clean water. I quietly put down a thick bag of gold coins and a freshly cleaned military canteen. The captain got promoted. This is his relocation money for you. I told the clumsiest lie of my life. The woman clutched the canteen tightly, sobbing in the blankets, heartbroken. I gently patted the little girl's head. Don't worry, nobody will dare bully you anymore. Leaving the slum, violence burned in my eyes, almost tangible. Meanwhile, Xiao Tiangang at the top of the command tower crushed a token. A strange red gleam flashed in his eyes. Since they're so lucky, let them keep shining and burning. Send orders. Lin Zhuan is assigned to the suicide squad. Liu Rubing is responsible for the dangerous Gate 9. The River City 1st Suicide Squad's camp was filled with despair. I took a new long saber and was about to enter the camp, but the Centurion blocked me with his personal guards. So you're the useless guy with the fake token. Looks like you really can't muster a bit of true energy. The Centurion laughed mockingly. He casually dropped a heavy black iron stove. And my feet. This is a beast-attracting incense burner. Your mission is to deliver it to the high ground 5 kilometers beyond the defensive line. Draw the beast tide. Advance unit. The The surrounding soldiers looked at me with pity in their eyes. This was clearly an execution, a death sentence. Scared of defying orders. I'm going to execute you right now. The centurion drew his true key longsword. He slapped it down onto my shoulder. I slowly bowed my head. I reached out and pinched the blade's spine between two fingers. You really think this piece of scrap metal can threaten me? With a crisp crack, I snapped the Tier 2 true key longsword. As easily as breaking a brittle noodle. Casually, I hurled the broken sword at his face. I grabbed an iron shovel weighing hundreds of pounds and strode toward the dark wasteland. 3 hours later, a level 4 piercing alarm instantly rattled the nerves of the entire city. On the horizon, millions of mutant beasts came surging like a black tide, flooding in from every direction. And on the high ground 5 kilometers outside the defense line, I lit the incense burner of longevity. Buffet time has begun. I unleashed bloodthirsty frenzy and titan strength. Becoming a humanoid meat grinder, I charged into the beast horde. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. Severed limbs rained down. Points were racking up furiously in my mind. Relying on my blood rebirth passive, I gave up all defense, letting the sharp claws tear me apart. And my body healed completely within seconds. But just then, the defensive formation at Gate 9 suddenly went dark without warning. High above, 3 Tier 4 demon bat kings locked on. Liu Rubing dove down aggressively. He was out of true ki, so exhausted he couldn't even lift his sword. Out of the corner of my eye, I glimpsed the city walls. A surge of violent rage exploded in my chest. Zhao Tiangang, you bastard, you want to die? I kicked a demon beast away, grabbed the Vajra incense burner weighing hundreds of pounds with both hands, gripped it tightly. Titan strength, time to shine. My muscles from overexertion sank 5 kilometers into bedrock. I pulled the incense burner back like a massive drawn bow. No one messes with the people I protect. With a thunderous boom, the air exploded. A sonic boom formed as the incense burner broke the sound barrier, blasting through 5 kilometers, and smashed brutally into the 3 demon bat kings. 3 clouds of blood mist burst in midair. Those Tier 4 monsters didn't even have time to let out a scream. Before they were pulverized to dust, the entire battlefield fell silent. Liu Rubing stared blankly at the incense burner, then turned to look into the distance. I, surrounded by mountains of corpses and seas of blood, charged right back at the city walls with a terrifying counterattack. A 5-kilometer stretch. The million-strong beast horde was like a black tsunami. I had no weapon in my hand, facing a Tier 3 ironclad rhino, charging at me like a heavy tank. I suddenly leaped into the air and crashed onto its back like a cannonball. Titan's strength, tenfold amplification, exploded out, forcibly flipping it over. Without waiting for it to get up, I stomped its head to pieces and ripped off its 1-meter-long horn. A weapon. Now I have one. But before I could finish my sentence, I lifted the blood-dripping horn and dove straight into the beast swarm. No defense, just pure slaughter. The blood rebirth passive instantly healed my wounds. And right then, Deputy Commander of the City Defense Army, Zhao Tiangang, in order to silence me, used clearing out high-level monsters as an excuse, and forcefully activated the 3 main cannons. For the greater good, the order to fire was absolute. But in the very next second, 3 deep blue beams of destructive energy tore through the sky, blasting toward me. There's no way I could outrun that. Feeling the threat of death overhead, I didn't despair. Instead, I spread my arms wide in the sea of corpses and blood. Zhao Tiangang thinks he can blow me to pieces with cannons. I'll show you. I'll eat everything you throw at me. Just before the beams struck, with nothing but my bare hands, I ripped open the abdomen of a Tier 4 magma land dragon and dove headfirst into its burning hot chest cavity. With a thunderous blast, a 3-kilometer radius was instantly vaporized into a glassy wasteland. But when the blue storm dissipated, I kicked aside the charred bones and stood up again out of the ashes. Zhao Tiangang's treat. I'm not passing up a free meal. I grabbed the half-roasted heart of the land dragon and devoured it in huge bites. The regenerative speed of my body soared again. But right then, the system alert sounded wildly in my mind. I'd actually broken my talent slot limit and gained the group war god tier passive, the Shura battle physique. As long as the killing doesn't stop, my base stats can stack indefinitely. I let out a mad laugh up at the sky and glared aggressively at the command tower from 5 kilometers away. I flipped to Zhao Jiangang the middle finger in the most arrogant way. With the ferocity of 10,000 beasts, I charged back into the endless beast tide. As thousands more beasts fell, my stat multipliers broke the 300% mark. One punch could carve out a 100-meter-long vacuum corridor. But at that moment, a huge crash echoed from the front lines as a mountain-sized Tier 6 Drottland mystic tortoise smashed a massive crack in Jiangcheng's indestructible city wall. The shockwave knocked countless soldiers off the wall, rattling everyone. To keep the beast tide from breaking in, I unleashed a blinding blood-red shockwave, instantly crossed 5 kilometers and smashed down under the city gate. Open the gate and let me in. I'll butcher that giant turtle. But Zhao Tiangang had appeared on the city wall without anyone noticing. He looked down at me with venomous contempt. He raised his foot and stomped hard on the winch control valve, completely cutting off my way back. Open the gate. Who do you think you are? You dare to give orders? City defenders, relay this command. For the absolute safety of Jiangcheng, seal Gate 9 completely. Drop the highest level dragon-cutting stone. No one is allowed to open the gate without permission. Anyone who breaks the rules will be executed on sight. With a roar, the massive black dragon-cutting stone, weighing tens of thousands of tons, crashed to the ground, completely cutting off my retreat. On the wall, Liu Rubing, enraged, drew his frost sword, pointing its tip directly at Zhao Tiangang. Zhao Tiangang Lingzhuan has been killing monsters out there. He's been defending Jiangcheng. But because of your personal vendetta, you actually locked him out. Watch your words, Captain Liu. I'm acting for the safety of all the city's people. Since he's so great at killing, then let him stay out there and keep fighting for humanity, shining his light, burning himself bright. Isn't that an honor too? Hearing those words, I leaned against the cold dragon-cutting stone and glared up at Zhao Tiangang on the city wall. Zhao Tiangang, you really think shutting some crappy door can keep me in? Once I slaughter that turtle, I'll come up there myself and rip your head off. Open the gate. Hearing my brazen taunt, Zhao Tiangang laughed in utter contempt from atop the wall. He sneered derisively, then suddenly turned around and gave an absolute death order. Such a blowhard mad dog. You'll never even touch the mystic tortoise's toe. Somebody, seize Liu Rubing for me. But before he finished his sentence, Liu Rubing erupted with an icy aura, instantly blasting away the onrushing soldiers. He glanced coldly at the towering walls. These rotten walls aren't worth defending. The very next moment, the high and mighty demon suppression squad captain leaped from the 100-meter city wall without hesitation, landing solidly at my side. Watching this crazy woman, I frowned deeply. Are you out of your mind? At least up there you had a turtle shell for cover. Now you jumped down just to die with me.
He gripped the frost sword tightly,
Stood back to back with me, but actually cracked a rare smile. At the bottom of the abyss, you protected me once. Today I'll die with you. Hearing that blazing oath, I lifted my head and let out a deafening laugh. Hell, I crawled out of the underworld myself. With me here, even the king of hell has to wait in line. And right then, vital energy roared and exploded inside my body. The attributes accumulated by my Shura battle physique underwent a terrifying transformation right at that moment. Thick, bloody steam intertwined wildly behind me, condensing a 10-meter tall Shura, a phantom avatar. I turned my head aside, coldly threw out a remark. Stay right here, don't move. Watch how I tear through this wilderness. Then I ruthlessly faced the million-strong beast horde and blasted out a straight punch. With a thunderous boom, the terrifying physical pressure instantly vacuumed the air. Forcefully, in the airtight center of the beast horde, I blasted out a corridor of absolute vacuum stretching a kilometer. Tens of thousands of monsters exploded into blood mist on the spot. The whole battlefield fell into deadly silence. But just when I was dominating everywhere, that mountain-sized Tier 6 land turtle was completely enraged. It raised its massive claw, blocking out the sky, with the threat to destroy everything. It viciously stomped at me head-on, but I didn't dodge at all. Instead, I rushed towards that mountain-sized falling claw. Arms crossed, braced it head-on. Is that all you've got? Didn't you eat enough or something? A mere human body withstands a mountain. This scene shocked everyone on the city wall. The turtle roared in stunned disbelief, instantly activated its gravity field, tenfold pressure. My battle aura let out a piercing crack, but my blood rebirth skill went berserk. Broken bones healed instantly. I suddenly looked up, displaying a frightening, twisted grin. You want to crush me? Come on then. With a roar so loud it ripped my vocal cords, I forcefully pushed the giant beast, making it stagger backwards. Next, I kicked a steel beam on the ground. The beam weighed over a dozen tons. I gripped it in my hand like a giant sword. You think your shell is hard, huh? Let me see. Is your turtle shell harder? Or is my blade harder? Before I finished speaking, I slashed at the beast with a fierce reverse attack. No aura or energy flashes, only a pure black rift in space, bursting instantly along the beam. This slash bypassed all defenses, cleanly sliced through the 50-meter-tall Tier 6 monster king right down the middle. As the behemoth crashed to the ground, the million-beast horde completely collapsed, fled madly toward the depths of the wilderness. In a downpour of blood, I locked my gaze on Zhao Tiangang. Since the gate won't open, I'll rip it apart myself. Hearing my mocking words, Zhao Tiangang, half demon now, let out a roar unmanned, wild. Lowborns tremble before the absolute laws of Tier 6. Faced with this ferocious killing blow, I didn't back down, directly met it head-on with a brutal punch. No energy unleashed, only Titan power and Shura battle body amplified 100-fold. Compressed to pure physical brute strength, what so-called rules. In my eyes, only strength is the real truth. With a resounding bang, both fists and claws crashed fiercely with no frills. The sneer on Zhao Tiangang's face froze instantly.
His so-called
half-demon claws capable of tearing high-level aura. In front of my fist, snapped apart like brittle twigs.
Next,
the monstrous force crushed his forearm. His whole right arm exploded into a cloud of blood. Impossible! I'm a Tier 6 half-demon who absorbed divine blood. My body should be invincible.
He clutched his broken arm and retreated in terror.
I sneered, appeared before him as if teleporting, grabbed him by the throat, hoisted him up like a dead dog. Invincible, huh? With only a few pounds of rotten meat on you. You hide behind tall walls drinking fine wine, watching lower soldiers die. Did you ever think about letting go today? Let go of me. He struggled desperately. His remaining left claw scratched my chest wildly, but blood rebirth healed the wounds instantly. I let him scratch and violently slammed him on the ground. Then I raised my boots and crushed his left knee. That Tier 6 martial king now looked like a pitiful reptile and screamed like a slaughtered pig. Soldiers around buried their heads in the ground in terror, their bodies shaking like mad. Lin Zhuan, don't kill me. I know the secrets of the demon god cult. Just spare me. I'll give you half the resources of River City. I'll make you head commander of the city guards. Zhao Tiangang broke down and begged for mercy. I squatted down and contemptuously patted his sweat-soaked face. I'm not interested in being emperor. I'm only interested in one thing, and that is crushing you self-righteous cancers, one by one. Realizing I'm completely immune to temptation, he desperately invoked his last backer. You can't kill me. The chief is about to return. If you kill me, he will definitely hunt you down. I slowly stood up, looked toward the tallest command tower in River City, a wildly arrogant smirk at my lips, then let him come to me. As soon as the words left my mouth, I raised my right leg without hesitation, with absolute strength crashing down, smashed his skull like a hydraulic press. The mix of brain matter and dark red blood exploded instantly, dead silence all around, only the wilderness night wind whimpering. I casually wiped my boots, cleaned off the brain matter, coldly glanced at the kneeling soldiers. From today on, River City's rules are up to me. Zhao Qiangang's headless corpse had just fallen. Who knew his remaining Tier 6 core suddenly erupted in a bloody light, brutally tore open the skies. A massive rift appeared.
Next.
A starlit giant hand covering River City's sky reached out from the abyss. Terrifying divine might instantly pressed everyone to the ground. As the demon god descends, the city's highest commander led a dozen top experts, unleashed their greatest energy, shot up from the ground. Yet in the palm of that giant hand, a deep abyssal mouth suddenly opened, devoured all the aura and the flesh of the experts, drained them in an instant. The commander's half-remaining head landed at my feet, let out a bitter, chilling laugh. It's all just a scam. So-called martial super energy is just the demon god's parasitic technique to farm humans, passed around like a contagious skill. After death, we become their best feast. With those words, the commander vanished in ashes, up in the sky. The starlit giant hand that drained the dozen experts pressed down like a five-finger mountain, mercilessly descending. Hearing the desperate howls of the city folk, I trembled uncontrollably. If I'm a farmed pig, today I'll wreck this filthy pen. And the damn butcher who keeps it, all in one bloody mess. I didn't hesitate at all, pushed all 10,000-fold attributes into both arms. Next second, I shot up like a dark red meteor, dominantly braced, held back the starlit giant hand, smashing River City. But a demigod's power has long surpassed physical limits. At the moment of contact, my body was covered in cracks. Blood rebirth couldn't keep up with the destruction. Then, the hand's finger stabbed out a deadly bone spike, precisely pierced through my chest. Nailed me in midair, but I didn't die. I reached out with both hands instead, clutched that finger tightly. You want to skewer me and roast me with a spike? I said I'll eat you like a buffet. Before finishing those words, I opened my mouth wide and fiercely bit into the demon god's flesh. With brutal force, hot divine flesh entered my stomach. The system in my mind set off an ear-splitting overload alarm. On the edge of life and death, the system said if I sacrifice all current talents, I could fuse the ultimate hidden skill, God's overlord body. Looking up at that lofty starlight, giant hand, I screamed wildly with all my mind. Sacrifice everything. Fuse it all. The instant fusion reached 100%. All my furious steam and phantoms disappeared instantly, and I returned to a completely ordinary human form. The demon god sensed my energy was failing. He immediately increased his power, ready to crush me into nothing but orange dust. But at that very moment, an incredibly pure dark golden light erupted fiercely from within me. The deep wounds on my body healed instantly, transforming into flawless, glass-like perfection. That half-divine bone spike through my chest was actually crushed between my muscles. The demon god seemed to sense a threat. A furious roar echoed from the abyss. Countless bolts of destructive lightning crashed down on me. Yet every single demigod law, the instant it touched my skin, disappeared like a clay ox in the sea, completely vanishing without a trace. This was the absolute power of total invincibility. I casually yanked out the broken spike, fixing my gaze on the colossal body deep within the rift. The warm-up is over. Now it's my turn. Hearing the demon god's massive true form let out a thunderous, enraged roar, I stood calmly thousands of meters in the sky and spoke with complete composure. Now it's my turn. Before I'd even finished speaking, I actually took a step in this airless void, as if walking on solid ground. Beneath my feet, the space-time itself, under my terrifying physical density, was pressed into a translucent dent. Right after that, I appeared, teleporting directly before the colossal starlit hand. Go back to your pigsty. I slowly clenched my pale, slender right fist and threw a casual straight punch at the massive hand that could blot out River City. I swung my fist very nonchalantly. There was no earth-shaking explosion, not even any aura or light effects. The instant my fist made contact, the starlit giant hand exploded in a thunderous blast, shattering into billions of fragments that rained down on the wastelands. One punch to shatter a star. A shrill roar echoed out from the dimensional rift. The demon god's real body forced its way out of the crack. A huge, dark red eye covering half the sky fixed its gaze on me in midair. Then a massive, 10,000-meter wide pale beam burst forth, blasting toward River City with the ultimate law of obliteration. Sensing this, godlight, powerful enough to vaporize Europe and Asia, I glanced sharply down at the ruins below and reached out with a 5-fingered grip. A broken knife, stained with blood, shot up through the air, falling instantly into my hand. System. Pour all my points. Every single one. Invest them in the basic demon-slaying blade. Warning, invested points have surpassed the plane's limits. System forcibly breaching dimensional barriers. Congratulations, host. You've mastered the one and only ultimate technique. Mortal's blade draw. The moment the prompt sounded, the broken knife in my hand transformed in an eerie way, becoming a rusty, battered blade. But I gripped the handle without a hint of hesitation, and as my fingers tightened around it, the entire world, even the obliterating godlight moving at light speed, all fell into absolute stillness. Within the demon god's giant eyes, fear appeared for the very first time. He burned his divine essence without holding back, and tore open a dimensional rift, trying desperately to flee. At that critical, deadly moment, Liu Rubbing, against all odds, rose up from the ruins, fighting through unimaginable difficulty to stand, watching the demon god fading away as he tried to escape. He swiftly formed a series of hand seals. Lin Xuan, today I'm returning everything I owe you. Reaching absolute zero, time froze in place. A massive ice lotus radiating 0-degree cold burst skyward, striking the demon god's true body right on target, at the cost of burning away 20 years of cultivation and soul essence. Liu Rubbing forcefully pinned the demon god in place. In those 0.1 seconds, Liu Rubbing felt his own life force rapidly fading away down below. I took a deep breath and poured every ounce of power from the god physique into the iron blade. Die for me. I drew the sword and slashed fiercely. No explosion, no sonic boom. The whole world instantly turned into a black and white silent film, stripped of all color and sound. A razor-thin, pitch-black line silently stretched out from the blade's rusty edge, effortlessly slicing through the divine light, through the tendrils, through the demon god's eye, and even through the vast reaches of cosmic space. 1 second later, color came rushing back. The demon god's massive, star-sized body split cleanly along the black line, collapsing with a thunderous crash, dissolving into countless starlit fragments that rained on the wilderness. A deity slain instantly by the simplest basic attack. I didn't savor the thrill of killing a god. Instead, I fell like a meteor, catching with absolute precision the life-faded, snow-white-haired Liu Rubbing. He forced his eyes open, and a weightless smile bloomed on his pale face. Lin Xuan, you look so cool when you draw your sword. Before he could finish, she fell completely unconscious in my arms. I gripped her tightly, with the utmost tenderness, pressing my cheek gently to her cold forehead. Don't worry, as long as I'm here. Even the king of hell wouldn't dare take you. After the demon god was annihilated, the sky filled with pure life essence, drifting down to the earth like rain. The crazed mutated monsters were completely stripped of their laws and turned back into ordinary wild beasts and disappeared into the forests. The densest starlight, like a waterfall, poured down on me and Liu Rubbing. I knelt in the ruins on one knee, using my glass-like body to shield him from the cold wind, because all the false energy acting as a parasite in his body was gone. And now this cosmic essence could no longer be stolen away, and instead gently began to heal his mortal body, feeling that cold body in my arms, warming up bit by bit. I gently smoothed the messy hair on his forehead. I tilted my head back, looking at the pure blue sky finally breaking through, letting out a long, deep breath. 2 centuries of captivity had finally ended. Half a year later, River City was transformed. The 100-meter-tall wall, a symbol of class oppression, was toppled by the people with their own hands. Humanity completely abolished the toxic energy cultivation system. The basic body strengthening method was adopted by all. The simple body training manual. Because everyone had witnessed with their own eyes how I, a mortal, killed a god with a single blade. And yet, after that legendary battle, I vanished from everyone's sight. at the edge of the wilderness, deep within a peaceful new village. I wore rough gray linen clothes, both hands gripping the old, rusty chopper with dark red stains, splitting firewood with perfect precision. Right then, the wooden door was pushed open with the gentlest touch. Liu Rubbing emerged slowly with a steaming cup of tea. She walked out at an easy pace, no longer burdened by a warrior's fate. She'd shed her icy aura and learned to live like an ordinary wife. Watching me chop wood, her eyes shone with a deeply tender affection. Lin Juan stopped chopping already. Wash up and eat. Hearing her call, I paused my movements, casually planting that once universe-splitting iron blade into the chopping block, looking at Liu Rubbing smiling at me in the sunlight. The eyes that once turned me into a demon of war now had nothing but perfect tranquility and clarity. The corners of my mouth slowly rose, showing a wild yet incomparably gentle smile. A gentle breeze blew, drifting through the small courtyard, lifting her silver hair and carrying the rusty blade's handle on the chopping block.